At 2:13 a.m., my boyfriend's phone lit up on my nightstand with a new voicemail. The name on the screen made my stomach dip. Mel, regional manager. My boss. His phone was on my side because he'd sworn it died earlier and plugged it into my charger for just a minute. I work under Mel at a software company that lives and dies by launch dates and clean dashboards. I've never had a real conversation with her outside of stand-ups and congratulatory emails. She's brisk, unreadable, half-caffeinated steel. And now, apparently, she was calling my boyfriend, Nate, in the middle of the night. Nate was asleep, face down, one arm flung toward the edge like he'd fainted mid-sentence. He'd gotten back from a late client dinner, smelled like hotel air and rosemary fries, mumbled apologies about not texting sooner. We turned off the lamp. 15 minutes later, the phone buzzed. I stared at the screen until it dimmed. Then I looked at him. I told myself not to be that person, the suspicious, jealous version of me who used to count X's likes on my photos. But the phone blinked again. Voicemail 1. I shouldn't have touched it. That's the sentence I'll end up using if this ever blows up. But my hand moved before the rest of me could debate ethics. I tapped the notification. It opened the visual voicemail screen. At first I thought it would be one of those pocket dials with muffled hallway noise. Instead I heard Mel's voice, clean and controlled. Hi, Nate. I'm landing at 8 a.m. I need you to pick up the folder from the apartment. Please don't text, I've got eyes on me. The hallway camera is still, you know. Use the side door. Then she exhaled, a tiny, human sound I've never heard from her in the office. I can't risk this getting out. Call when you're clear. The message ended with that robotic timestamp, and suddenly the room felt colder. A folder, an apartment, a hallway camera. Use the side door. I didn't know which part cut deeper, that she was calling him like they'd practiced this, or that she didn't want it traced. And what exactly would this even be? An affair? Something work-related, something illegal? My brain went sprinting. I locked the phone, slid it back where it was, and lay there trying to control my breathing so I wouldn't shake the mattress. There's a specific kind of silence in apartments at 2 a.m. That refrigerator click, HVAC hum, the upstairs neighbor's bathroom fan. I counted them like beads. I tried to remember the night cleanly. Nate left around 6 for the client dinner, texted at 7:12 a.m. blurry photo of sliders, didn't respond to my how's it going, at 9:03, arrived at 1:47 apologetic and charming, which is his default setting when anything is off. At 7:30 a.m., when the light was gray and thin, he rolled up on one elbow and kissed my shoulder. Morning, he said, like he hadn't personally detonated my sleep. He showered. He hummed to himself. He used my shampoo because he likes the smell. I waited until the water shut off. Your boss called, I said, aiming for neutral. He frowned. What? Mel. Voicemail around 2:13. He froze for a beat too long. Then he shrugged like he'd rehearsed this exact shrug. Oh, she's not your boss to me. She's just a client contact. I did some freelance IT for her before you and I met. She forgets time zones. I watched him tie his shoe. What's at the apartment? What apartment? Pick up the folder from the apartment. I kept my voice steady. He laughed, light and unconvincing. I have no idea. She's chaotic. Probably meant office. She said not to text. That she has eyes on her. He zipped his hoodie, still not looking at me. Yeah, she's dramatic. He kissed my cheek again and missed my skin by half an inch. I'm late. Coffee later? When the door closed, the apartment finally sounded like itself again. My hands were shaking. I set up my laptop on the small table by the window and opened Slack. At 8:03, Mel posted in #ProductOps, travel day. Please route approvals through Amrita. Cool, professional, 2 checkmarks next to tasks. At 8:06, I clicked her profile like a creep and stared at the absurd normalcy. Silver bob in a headshot, mutual channels, the little airplane emoji. I sent Nate. Hope your morning's okay. Dinner good? The message sat there like a mild joke. At 8:28, he replied, yep. Running around. Later? There's a line you cross when you start documenting. I opened the Notes app and typed, 2:13 a.m. voicemail from Mel, my boss. Folder. Apartment. Side door. No texts. Eyes on me. I stared at it until it didn't look like words. By 9:10, I'd decided to do nothing. I'd be the reasonable girlfriend who trusts her partner and doesn't spin conspiracies because of a weird voicemail. At 9:13, my building's security app pinged with a motion alert from the lobby camera. It was an automated thing we all hated, a feature added after a package thief made neighbors overcorrect. I tapped it absent-mindedly, expecting a dog walker. The video buffer loaded in chunks. I watched Nate step through the front door with my spare keys on his index finger, look directly at the camera, and turn toward the side exit. By 9:14 I was out the door with my laptop bag, pretending I'd forgotten my charger at the office, pretending I wasn't following my own boyfriend's shadow down the block. Nate didn't know that the side exit of our building opens onto the alley behind the bakery. If you take it, you skip the lobby camera, that ridiculous motion sensor I'd just watched log him. I reached the corner in time to see the hood of his car peel into traffic. I grabbed the first bus going vaguely the same direction and watched his taillights stutter between delivery vans. At the third light I lost him. My stomach dropped and then, a block later, I spotted his car again. He'd parallel parked in front of a brownstone with a gloomy stoop and a vestibule camera shaped like a doorbell. He jogged up, head down, hoodie up. He pressed a code I couldn't see. The door clicked. The vestibule camera blinked red. I cupped my hands to the glass and took a breath like I owned air. 2 mail slots, H. Morales, 2A and M. Lennox, 3B. Neither was Mel's last name. I took a photo of the names anyway. Then I did the thing my calmer self would call crazy. I pretended I lived there. Someone came out with a dog. I slipped in with an apologetic smile, forgot my keys. The dog didn't care. The woman didn't either. Up one flight, the smell of old paint and lemon cleaner, then a second. I heard footsteps above me and froze in the shadow of the stairwell. Nate came down carrying a thin black folder I recognized immediately because our company orders them in bulk for board meetings. Same embossed corner, same matte finish that shows fingerprints if you breathe on it. He had a second object tucked under his arm, a small white box with a peel-off strip, like external storage or a router. He paused at the landing to text. The screen lit his face in a way that made him look younger and guiltier. I stepped back so he wouldn't see me, pressed into the cold wall between 2A and 2B. When he hit the ground floor, I listened for the door to click, counted 5, and crept down. Through the glass I watched him check the street, shove the folder under his jacket, and walk away fast, not toward his car but toward the end of the block where rideshares idle. I didn't follow. I rang 3B because my knuckles were already shaking. The intercom crackled. A woman's voice, not Mel's. Yeah? Package for Lennox? I said, like I carried 1,000 packages a day. A beat, then the buzz. I stepped into a hallway that smelled like dust and tea. Apartment 3B's door was ajar. A woman my age with a messy bun and a paint smear on her shirt blinked at me. I didn't order anything. Sorry, wrong unit. I leaned like I'd just remembered the return address and motioned toward the stairs. Do you know if Melanie, lives in this building? Mel? Her eyebrows knitted. 2A? No, that's Hector. Why? I held up the photo of the mail slots. I thought she was here. She shook her head. I've lived here 6 years. No Mel. Is she tall, silver bob, never smiles? My chest tightened. Yes. The woman grimaced. She shows up sometimes. Lobby. Doesn't say who she's visiting. I figured she was someone's landlord or, she shrugged. You didn't hear that from me. Did you see her today? She glanced down the hall and lowered her voice. An hour ago? She stood in the hall with some guy, whispering. They looked like people who rehearse their whispering. Thanks, I said, and meant it. If anyone asks, I was never here. I don't even know you, she said, but she smiled. Outside, the sky was that flat winter white that makes everything look like a crime scene. I took the bus to the office because I actually did need my charger, and because confrontation on a sidewalk wasn't going to net me answers. My brain was a folder of tabs, all open, the voicemail, the side door, the not Mel mail slots, the black folder, the white box. At 10:21, our office smelled like burnt coffee and citrus cleaner. I scanned my badge and tried not to look like a person who'd just followed her boyfriend to a phantom address. In #ProductOps, Amrita was already running point, calm as a surgeon. I waved, mouth charger, and ducked into my cube. Mel's glass office is a fishbowl at the end of the hallway. You can't stand there without being seen unless you look like you're printing. So I printed something. I printed my own email to myself, subject line, meeting doc, so I'd have pages to shuffle. Then I walked slowly, counting the seconds it took the copier to spit each page onto the tray. On Mel's door, a paper square I'd never noticed. Hallway camera maint, do not touch. Tape peeling on one corner. The sign was 3 days old at most, the blue tape still bright, the paper not yet curling from the radiator heat. It wasn't corporate, either. It was printed on someone's personal template with a default font. The maintenance tag number was blank. My heart ticked faster. I casually angled my stack of paper to cover the sign, snapped a photo with my phone above the ream, then pulled a stray hair from the corner of tape like I was bored. The sign barely hung on. Back at my desk, I searched our help desk tickets. No maintenance request for the second floor hallway camera in the past month. 2 for the lobby, 1 for the freight elevator, nothing for our segment. I checked the security vendor's portal. Last inspection logged 6 weeks ago. Green everywhere. I was staring at the screen when a Slack DM from unknown popped up. The username was a string of numbers. The message was short: "Stop checking the cameras from your workstation." I swallowed. Who is this? No response. Then, 30 seconds later, a second message: "If you want to act normal, act normal." I looked up. The bullpen was a sea of headphones and water bottles. Amrita's chair was empty. She must have been in a meeting. I took a screenshot of the DMs and saved them to a hidden folder, then closed the browser and opened a spreadsheet like a good little analyst who lives for cells and conditional formatting. At 11:03, the office fire door opened with that hollow metal sound and Nate walked in. He shouldn't have been there. He works in field services for a completely different company 3 blocks away. He spotted me and did a half smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Hey," he said, too brightly, as if he'd rehearsed the word. "Lunch?" My mouth went dry. "What are you doing here?" "Returning a charger." He held up a black MacBook block identical to mine. I hadn't texted him about a charger. I hadn't texted him anything except dinner good? Behind him, down the glass corridor, Mel appeared like she was a scene change. She didn't look at me. She looked at him, and they exchanged a micro-expression I recognized from morning commutes and wedding receptions, the type that says we know the same secret. My face went hot and cold at the same time. Nate handed me the charger like a prop. His hand brushed mine, a deliberate pressure, and my palm met cardboard. A folded note, small as a fortune from a cookie. I slipped it into my sleeve, exhaled, and forced a smile that must have looked like a grimace. "Thanks." He nodded, backed away, headed for the elevators. Mel turned on her heel and walked the other direction. No greeting. No acknowledgement. Arms crossed like a barrier. I unfolded the note under my desk. "Don't text me." The folder wasn't for her. It was about her. "I'll explain at 8. Our place. Don't be late." I read it twice. If it wasn't for her, then who? And what about her would require hallway cameras, side doors, fake maintenance signs, and a 2:13 a.m. voicemail telling him not to leave a trace? My computer pinged. Another DM from unknown: 8 is too late. At 11:07 I answered the question I'd just asked myself: break into the folder now and deal with the fallout later. I stuffed the charger in my tote, stood up like I was just stretching, and walked toward the copier again. Mel's office sat at the end of a glass corridor, the kind that looks open but snitches on you with reflections. She was gone. Calendar said op sync, 11 to 12. The door was locked, but our doors do that thing where they lag a second before the latch re-engages. I pulled the almost loose blue tape from her fake maintenance sign, pressed it against the latch, and let the door close gently. It bounced, soft, not fully catching. One more minute of looking busy at the copier, then I slid inside. Her office smelled like eucalyptus and expensive pens. A black folder sat on the credenza beside a white box with a peel-off strip. My throat tightened. Same folder, same box. I locked the door. My heartbeat was in my gums. I didn't sit at her desk. I crouched behind the credenza so anyone walking by would see only glass, plants, the ghost of me. I opened the folder expecting board minutes or travel receipts. Instead, laser-printed screenshots of Slack messages and calendar invites, 3 months worth. A spreadsheet with vendor names highlighted in yellow: Northlight Advisory, Echelon Partners, TBG Logistics, none of which we use. Next page, wire confirmations to an account ending in -3,172. Amounts that make you careful: 12,500, 9,900, 14,000. A printed email from an anonymous account to our compliance inbox subject: regional manager has undisclosed relationship with competitor. The body referenced a hotel in San Mateo, 3 dates, and a name I didn't expect: M. Lennox. I remembered the mail slot: M. Lennox, 3B. My skin prickled. Under the stack was a single sheet in Nate's handwriting. You don't forget someone's loops once you've watched them write a grocery list on your knee. His print was fast and blunt, everything in caps so his letters couldn't betray him. Meeting, Friday 8 a.m., Dropbox Hall Cam 2 footage to Richard, legal. Then, do not text. Eyes on her. My heart executed a bad magic trick, vanished and reappeared in my throat. If the folder wasn't for Mel but about her, then Nate wasn't running errands for a secret girlfriend. He was running a trail around her. Or he was staging one that made him look like a hero when he wasn't. My trust didn't know where to land. The white box turned out to be a tiny DVR with a sticker: Hall 2B. A microSD card slid in the side. I stared at it like it might bite. Plugging random storage into a work machine is the first chapter of how to get fired and breached. I pulled my personal laptop from my tote, killed Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and booted into a VM I kept for sketchy vendor demos. This is what you do when your job is risk assessment and your life has become one. I pried the card out with my thumbnail and slid it into the adapter I keep for photos. The directory populated, timestamps, all morning. I clicked the 9:09 clip, black and white hallway footage. At 9:11, Nate appeared with his hood up, typed a code, disappeared through a door marked stair A. 36 seconds later, a woman stepped into frame. Not Mel. Different jacket, baseball cap, chin tucked. She waited, then followed, using a different code. Clip after clip, hallway, door, hallway, door. Then, at 9:16, Mel herself appeared, head bare, expression surgical. She didn't go in. She stood under the camera like she knew its exact blind spot, then held up her phone and recorded the door pad for 5 seconds. When she lowered it, she looked straight into the lens and smiled. Not a nice smile. A tell me when you're finished smile. My skin went cold. She knew about the camera. She wanted whoever set it up to know she knew. She was speaking into the lens in a language carved from logistics and power. I copied the entire folder to an encrypted drive on my VM. While the progress bar crawled, I peeled through the paper stack again. Receipt printouts, flight confirmations, a calendar labeled with file names, NL Sprint, Echo DIN that lined up with the San Mateo dates. A final page stapled in the corner, a draft disclosure letter addressed to Richard Hall, Corporate Counsel. It was signed, digitally, by A.N. Torres. Nate's full name. He'd planned to submit at 8 a.m. tomorrow. Unknown DM, 8 is too late. I felt the words like a bruise. Footsteps clicked outside. I clamped the folder shut, jammed the microSD back into the DVR, slid it exactly where it had been, and stood up smoothing air. The latch tape held. The footsteps passed. My body remembered to breathe. I texted Nate, breaking his first rule. What exactly are you doing? 3 dots. They disappeared. 3 dots again. Trying to keep you out of it. Too late. No reply. I slipped out, eased the tape off the latch, pressed the fake maintenance sign back onto the glass, and walked to my desk like a person who does not currently have her career in her tote bag. I opened a spreadsheet and filled cells with fake numbers until my hands stopped shaking. At 12:02, Amrita slid into the chair beside me with a yogurt and a look like she'd been watching me for hours. She spoke without moving her lips. You didn't get that DM from me. I turned my head slowly. What DM? Exactly. She spooned yogurt, eyes on the screen. If you found anything stupid in there, you put it back. If you made a copy, you don't plug it into any networked machine. You don't email. You don't cloud. You wait. Why are you? Because you're clean. She finally looked at me. And because I'm not. And because if Mel is what I think she is, she's already built 10 exits and salted 7 of them. Don't give her a map. Do you know about Northlight? Echelon? The payments? My mouth felt like it belonged to someone less careful. Amrita's eyelids didn't flicker. I know we're getting a surprise audit and that secrets don't stay secrets unless you let them. Go home. Act normal. At 7:30, you take a walk. Alone. Why 7:30? Because at 8, it'll be too late. She stood up and left a sticky note under my keyboard with 4 numbers on it. A code? A date? I palmed it like a thief. At 1:10, Mel drifted back into the bullpen. She smiled at people the way you smile to confirm you have teeth. When she reached my row, she stopped at my cube and tapped twice on the partition with 2 manicured fingernails. How's your afternoon? She asked, bright and bland. Fine. Any camera issues? Her eyes were very green. I'd never noticed. I don't handle facilities tickets. A shame. She tilted her head. I like when people handle things. She moved on. I waited until her office door clicked and exhaled so slowly my lungs hurt. The note under my keyboard burned the skin of my palm through my tote. By 4:47, I'd made 3 decisions. 1. I would not wait until 8. 2. I would not walk into any room with Mel in it without a public witness and a recording. 3. I would open Nate's packet in a place Mel couldn't control. At 5:03, I told Slack log off for errand and walked out through the freight elevator, not the lobby. I cut behind the bakery, the alley that smells like sugar at noon and like damp cardboard after 5. I took a car to a library branch across town where the computers still look like they've been to war and the cameras are there to keep teenagers from shoulder surfing homework. I sat in a corner, killed every wireless thing I had, and opened my VM again. I reviewed the copy of Nate's disclosure packet, line by line. It wasn't just hotel dates. It was a pattern, vendor shells that routed money to M. Lennox, project timelines that slipped only when Mel flew, a quiet memo recommending our security camera retention window be shortened from 30 days to 7. And at the bottom, like a punch, screen grabs of texts between Nate and a contact labeled RH. Legal, where Nate wrote, "I can stall my girlfriend if I have to. She's on the product team." I stared at those words until they blurred. Stall my girlfriend. Me. For a case against my boss, or for a story Nate was selling to both sides, I couldn't tell. I closed the laptop. The library's clock ticked with civic patience. Outside, the sky lowered into that lemony winter dusk that fools you into thinking it's gentle. My phone buzzed. Unknown again, if you're reading, leave now. And then a second message, unsent and resent like the sender couldn't type fast enough. She's already at your apartment. The library's fluorescent clock clicked to 6:12 when the second message landed. She's already at your apartment. I didn't think. I dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? My name is Ava Torres. I'm getting messages that a woman involved in an internal investigation at my company may be inside my apartment without permission. I'm not home. I can show you video from my building's cameras. She's my boss. I believe she's trying to tamper with evidence. Are you in immediate danger? I'm off-site. But if she's there, my place won't be. Address? I gave it. Keys rattled at the dispatch center, fast. Ma'am, stay where you are. Officers are en route. Do not go inside if you arrive before them. Do you have remote camera access? Yes. Lobby only. We had a break-in months ago. Open it and tell me what you see. I pulled up the app. The live feed spooled, then resolved into grainy grayscale. 6:14 p.m. The side door, our blind spot, was open a hair. The main door was closed. The side door's propped, I said. Copy. What does the subject look like? Female, late 40s, silver bob, green eyes. Name Melanie Crane. She's, careful. My voice went tight. She knows where the cameras are. Any weapons? Not that I've seen. She uses people and policies. Officers will meet you outside the building. Stay on the line. I messaged Amrita one word, 911, and slid my laptop into my tote, then power walked into the dusk. The rideshare driver asked if I'd had a rough day. I nodded at the window. 16 minutes later we turned onto my block. 2 cruisers idled at the curb, blue lights off, engines ticking. The dispatcher kept me talking until an officer tapped my window. Short, steady voice, calm eyes. I'm Officer Nguyen. You the caller? Yes. My hand shook as I handed over my ID. Unit 3C. Any pets? Roommates? Just me and a boyfriend who isn't there, I think. Okay. We already checked the lobby. Side door had a piece of cardboard wedged into the strike plate. He held up a photo. We'll clear the stairwell first. You'll stay behind us. We moved as a small team through our building's quiet, my heartbeat sinking to the radio murmurs. The stairwell smelled like dust and old heat. At the 3rd floor landing, Nguyen raised his palm and listened. Nothing, no footsteps, no faucet, no bag zippers. Stay here, he said. He and his partner flowed down the hall, shoulders to opposite walls, then disappeared into my doorway. 10 seconds stretched to 30. Clear, Nguyen called. I stepped inside. Every nerve in me reached for familiar shapes, the terracotta throw, the lopsided plant, the dent in the couch cushion where I read. It all looked normal, like someone had erased a crime with Windex. Anything missing? Nguyen asked. I don't know yet. I went straight to the thing only I would notice. The ceramic dish by the door where I dump hair ties and a spare key. Only a hair tie sat there. The key was gone. You keep a key there often? He asked. Yeah. Stupid, I know. Stupid is convenient for people in a hurry. He pointed at the ceiling. Smoke detector looks new. I didn't replace it. He got a step stool from the kitchen and twisted the detector down. Inside the plastic shell, a wafer-thin camera taped next to the sensor, a microSD half-seated like someone had rushed the install. He held it in gloved hands and gave a low whistle. That's not city code. My stomach turned. Can you tell if she's still in the building? We're checking common areas. His radio crackled, a voice said, basement clear, bike room clear, no one on the roof. Nguyen looked at me. She's gone. A motion alert buzzed my phone. Lobby camera, a woman in a baseball cap, chin tucked, walking fast. A profile shot as she turned, sharp cheekbone, the glint of a bob tucked into the cap. I showed Nguyen the feed. We'll request the footage, he said. But start a screen record anyway. I hit record, hands steadier now that someone official had said we. Why would she be here? He asked. I weighed the truth like an object with edges. I think she's siphoning money through shells and meeting a man who lives at an address I traced. My boyfriend, the word tasted wrong, collected documentation to take to our corporate counsel tomorrow. She might have learned. She also called him at 2:13 a.m. telling him not to text because she had eyes on her. She put up a fake camera maintenance sign at work. Today someone messaged me not to check cameras from my workstation. Then another warned me 8 o'clock is too late. Nguyen's brows lifted once. That's a lot of specifics, he said carefully. Do you have proof of any of it? I copied what I could. On an air-gapped laptop. I called you because if I walked into this alone and something happened, it would be my words against hers. That was the right call. His partner returned from the bedroom holding a small white box and a glove like it might explode. Found this taped under the sink trap. DVR. Labeled Hall 2B. It matched the device I'd seen in Mel's office. I pictured her standing under the lens, smiling. Tell me when you're finished. Okay, Nguyen said to his radio. Starting a property receipt at 3C. 1 covert cam from smoke detector, 1 DVR from kitchen, plus photos of side door tamper and lobby capture. He turned to me. We'll take the devices as evidence. You'll get a case number. Tomorrow, go to the precinct and request a temporary restraining order if you think she'll come back. Also, call your legal department now. Tell them you've reported a suspected unlawful entry involving a manager. I have a number. I pulled out Amrita's sticky note. 4 digits. I typed them into my phone, then hesitated. Can I make this call with you here? Put it on speaker. I dialed. It rang twice. Hall, a man said. Dry, concise. Mr. Hall, this is Ava Torres from Product. I'm calling to report an unlawful entry at my apartment that appears connected to evidence surrounding Melanie Crane. Police are present and collecting a covert camera and a DVR. Silence, then not silence, breathing like someone sprinted to a chair. You're safe? For now. What evidence do you have? Copies of a disclosure packet prepared by A.N. Torres for you, vendor wire confirmations, and hallway camera footage from a second-floor install. I also have a 2:13 a.m. voicemail from Crane to Nate Torres, stating not to text and to use a side door. He exhaled. Stay with the officers. Do not email, upload, or move anything. I'm calling corporate security and the CEO. We'll convene tonight. If Ms. Crane contacts you, do not respond. The line clicked dead, replaced by the noise of my own apartment, heater purring, a neighbor's TV murmuring, the weight of air after something heavy is said. Nguyen handed me a card with a case number and a scribbled note. Call if she returns. Don't be a hero. Then, do you have somewhere else to sleep? I looked around at the space that had been mine 5 hours ago and now felt staged. Yes, I lied, because pride doesn't like to say no in front of police. When they left, I locked the door, slid the chain, and waited for my hands to stop shaking. Nate's note burned in my bag. 8 is too late, and the clock trudged towards 7. My phone buzzed. Unknown again. You called 911. Good. Then another. Don't go alone. I didn't sleep. I wrote. At 5:42 a.m. I opened a clean doc and titled it what Richard Hall would want to see on a subpoena. Prepared statement under Policy 5. 2. Disclosure of suspected misconduct. A. Torres, Product Analytics. I numbered every paragraph. I pasted the 911 case number at the top. I listed exhibits by letter, not vibe. A. 2:13 a.m. Voicemail transcription. B. Photo of fake maintenance sign. C. Help desk search results. No ticket. D. Screen captures of unknown DMs. E. Still images from Hall 2B. Mel under the lens. F. Wire confirmations to vendor shells. G. Photo of mail slots. M. Lennox. 3B. H. Property receipt for covert camera and DVR seized from my apartment. At 7:31 I walked to the office with the statement printed twice and sealed in 2 manila envelopes, one addressed to corporate counsel, one to corporate security. I wore the kind of plain sweater nobody remembers later and tied my hair back so my hands would have nothing to do. In the elevator I set a calendar invite for 8:45 a.m. Emergency Addendum, Policy 5. 2 Disclosure, 5 minutes. Required, all hands. Optional, none. Location, Town Hall plus Livestream, autorecord on. The autorecord toggle trembled under my finger. I clicked it so hard the mouse squeaked. By 8:42, the room filled with coffee and murmurs. Mel stood dead center in the front row, a pose of unbothered authority, blazer pressed into compliance. Amrita was 2 rows back, eyes steady. Richard Hall joined the livestream in a tiny square labeled Legal. Hall, our security director, a former auditor who looks allergic to adjectives, sat by the aisle with a bound notebook already open. I walked to the lectern before anyone could introduce anything, set down my paper, and spoke into the mic that feeds the recording and the captions that get filed with compliance. This is a policy 5.2 disclosure, I said. I am reading it into the record. Silence. Even the HVAC seemed to wait. Paragraph 1, I read, and my voice did not break. On yesterday's date, at 2:13 a.m., I observed a voicemail on the phone of A.N. Torres, Nate, stating, quote, I'm landing at 8 a.m. I need you to pick up the folder from the apartment. Please don't text, I've got eyes on me. The hallway camera is still, you know. Use the side door. The voice belongs to my direct manager, Melanie Crane. I let the captioner catch up, then continued. Paragraph 2, between 9:09 and 9:16 a.m., footage from a second-floor hallway camera labeled Hall 2B captured Mr. Torres entering a building using a code, an unidentified female following using a different code, and Ms. Crane filming the keypad. At 9:16, Ms. Crane looked into the lens and smiled. Exhibit E. I lifted a still and placed it under the doc cam. The grainy black and white image, her chin tilted in that surgical way, bloomed on the projector. A soft, involuntary ripple moved through the room. Paragraph 3. A fake maintenance sign appeared on Ms. Crane's office yesterday. Exhibit B. No corresponding help desk ticket exists. Exhibit C. At 11:07, I entered her office and found a black folder and a white DVR labeled Hall 2B. The folder contained, I read the list, vendor names not on our approved list, Northlight Advisory, Echelon Partners, TBG Logistics, wire confirmations to account -3,172 in amounts of 9,900 to 14,000, printed screenshots of Slack conversations, and a draft disclosure addressed to corporate counsel affirming a conflict of interest involving Ms. Crane and M. Lennox. Exhibit F. I paused to breathe. My hands stopped trying to shake when they realized I wouldn't let them. Paragraph 4. At 6:12 p.m., I received a message stating, quote, she's already at your apartment. I called 911. Officers Nguyen and Patel cleared my unit, discovered a covert camera installed inside my smoke detector and a DVR taped under my kitchen sink. Property logged under case number. Exhibits H1 and H2. I notified corporate counsel during the police presence and was instructed not to email or upload any data. I looked up. Paragraph 5. I am asking for 3 actions. 1. An immediate litigation hold. 2. Immediate suspension of Ms. Crane pending investigation. 3. A safe channel for anyone who has been asked to tamper with cameras, routes, or records. Do not text me your courage. Use legal. The room didn't breathe. Then Richard Hall's livestream square unmuted with the clinical click of someone who only speaks to put the floor under you. Legal confirms, he said. Effective immediately, litigation hold is in effect for the entire organization. You will receive a notice. Ms. Crane, per Section 7.1, you are placed on administrative leave. Security will escort you to collect personal items only. Ava, please deliver your sealed envelope to security. No one is to delete or alter anything. If you have a device labeled Hall 2B, do not touch it. Mel laughed, and the sound was wrong in daylight. This is theater, she said. She turned to the room, palms up. A disgruntled analyst breaking into my office, stealing documents, claiming break-ins. Do you hear yourselves? We have a launch in 9 days. No, I said evenly. We have a record. Her jaw flexed. Richard, you can't possibly take. Ms. Crane, Hall said, tone flat, stop speaking. Security rose without hurry. They didn't touch her. They didn't have to. She looked at me, and for a moment, something unarmored flickered, calculation replotting, exits reassessed. Then she smoothed her blazer and walked out flanked by 2 quiet professionals with pens. The room exhaled in a weird, guilty way. Someone's water bottle cracked as the cap reset. Nate stood near the back, hands in his pockets, face ashen. Ava, he said, not moving. I need the mic. I nodded to the A/V guy. He handed Nate a handheld like he was passing off a verdict. I am A.N. Torres, Nate said. I prepared the disclosure packet addressed to legal. I met with counsel last week to arrange delivery for 8 a.m. Friday. Yesterday I retrieved a folder from a source connected to Ms. Crane and installed a hallway camera to document a key code exchange. The line in my texts, I can stall my girlfriend, was to prevent leaks. I was protecting the chain of custody. He looked at me then, and the word protecting bent between us. I didn't tell you to keep you safe, he added, softer. That was wrong. I took the handheld back. It was also convenient, I said. For your case and for your conscience. He nodded, didn't argue. That counted as the apology he could afford in public. Amrita raised her hand, didn't wait to be called on. For the record, she said, anyone who got DMs telling them not to check cameras from work, forward them to legal via the new channel. If you're worried those messages came from me, they didn't. A few heads swiveled toward her. She didn't blink. Thank you, Hall said from the screen. Employees, your duty is to preserve. If you are asked to meet anyone off-site to discuss policy exceptions, refuse and inform legal. Effective immediately, a third-party firm will audit vendor payments and camera logs. Ms. Torres, Ava, do not move the copies you made. Corporate security will collect your devices to image them and return them today. He paused, and for the first time his voice softened by a millimeter. You did the right thing. I closed my statement. The mic caught the small click of paper on wood. For once, the noise sounded like closure instead of warning. People filed out whispering new verbs, preserve, log, disclose, like they were trying on a language that didn't require secrets. Security disappeared with Mel. Our CEO, late and pink with surprise, arrived in time to see the tail end of a consequence and stared like he'd walked into a different company than the one he thought he ran. In the hallway, Nate waited at a distance he must have measured. Breakfast? He asked, meaning talk. Not today, I said. Legal first. He nodded again. We are not built for grand exits, we are built for checklists. At my desk, the auto-record email pinged, Town Hall, recording available. I forwarded the link to legal, then set my status to in meeting, security intake. Amrita passed my cube, tapped twice with her knuckles, the mirror tap of Mel's from yesterday, and kept walking. Outside, morning light found the dust on the glass and made it obvious. Secrets always look clean until the sun hits them.